My next guest makes her professional MMA debut coming up here on June 23rd at LFA 14. Colbey Northcutt joins me here on the program for the very first time. Colbey, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Appreciate you asking. Not everyone asks how I'm doing, so I like that. But a lot of people obviously recognize you from your last name with your brother Sage and everything. And you've got quite the martial arts background. The one thing that I think a lot of people look at was that you won the Black Belt Magazine's Competitor of the Year in 2009. You have an extensive karate background. I got to know, though, when was that moment for you when you realized, hey, I'm really good at this. I can actually make a run at it?
You know, I've competed in karate and martial arts my entire life. I was 7 when I started karate. Sage was 4. So growing up and doing tournaments literally every other weekend, it is, hundreds and hundreds of tournaments. And in a tournament, you'll fight in 3-4 different divisions, have a dozen fights. You know, that's a lot of experience. So when all throughout high school, I was winning almost every single tournament there was, and I loved it, but there were no women in the UFC yet. So it was kind of the point to where there were talks about it, but I didn't really know where to go from there, if I should go to college and pursue journalism like I wanted to, or not go to college and pursue MMA. So I took a few years off after high school, actually, is when I decided, okay, I want to do this. Trained for a few years, had some amateur fights with Legacy and U of MMA up here in California. Then I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to take a little bit of a break, go back to college, and that's when my brother got into the UFC and everything just changed. And so that gave me the itch to want to come back. And so I finished school in December, and here I am getting ready for my pro debut. So yeah, it's been a lot. So probably high school, I'd say.
Okay, yeah, no, I was going to say that's quite the journey getting to where you are now. Was there ever sort of a sibling rivalry growing up? I know when I played sports when I was a kid, my sister and I both played soccer, and sometimes there was a little bit of a competitive edge. I know karate is an individual sport, but was there competitiveness between you two?
Absolutely, because we grew up training together. So he was always my number one training partner. We grew up in a traditional martial arts school. We started off in a real karate school, your generic basic karate school, but my dad's actually a black belt in Aikido, and so he transitioned into training me and my brother full time and being our instructor as well. So yes, there was rivalry, but we pushed each other more instead, so the rivalry was good. Obviously we competed in our own separate divisions, didn't actually compete against each other, but we did train with each other full time, sparring, everything. I was always beating him up until he passed me, and then he can take it to me. But yeah, there was always rivalry, but I think it was good because it made him better and it made me better.
And you referenced school there, communications major, actually, like myself. It's always one of those degrees where you can kind of go a bunch of different ways. But I know you, mentioned there that, journalism was something that was of interest to you. Who's someone that you look up to in the media field that, you kind of admire as sort of like a mentor or someone that you really sort of aspire to be like?
It's crazy because I've always wanted to be a news anchor or someone out on the field, whether it be football, any kind of sports related thing. But in particular, I love Megan Levy and what she does with fighters in the UFC. I love how she knows all the fighters, gets up close personal, does everything with them. So if I could, get in the UFC, have some fights, whatever, and then transition, when I say, hey, I'm done fighting, step back, maybe work for Fox Sports like Karen Bryant or Megan Levy up close and personal with them as well, I would love that. So those two ladies right there are great.
Fantastic. Have you met Megan yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, interesting. You got to get Sage to hook that up because she's doing all the post fight stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, interesting answer. Was the plan to always go pro as far as mixed martial arts, or did that seeing your brother and the success that he had, did that sort of make you kind of lean more towards that later?
I knew I always wanted to go pro, but I wanted kind of the experience first. So I had 5 or 6 amateur fights, and I kind of felt like I wanted more, but, I was a little going back and forth, and then I just felt like I needed kind of like a mental break with all of it. So that's when I decided to go back to school. So I've always known I wanted to go pro and pursue the UFC, but I just didn't know necessarily when. But I'm seeing Sage now and everything he's doing, and he's just, he's been super encouraging and motivating to me to finish school. They need more women, you got to get out there and you got to go fight again. So, yeah, he's kind of pushed me to actually take that leap and to go pro.
Did you ever expect Sage to get this big the way he has, the push he's getting and everything else? He got signed to the UFC at kind of a young age, but I don't think anyone expected what we're seeing now with him.
I've always known, and it's funny because when he was 9 years old, he was on the cover of the Sport Karate magazine. And it's absolutely crazy because when he was that young, he told the interviewer and the whole bio they did about him that I'm going to be in the UFC one day. So he's known since that little that he was going to do that. So I had no doubt in my mind that was going to happen. But, you know, at 19 years old, getting into the UFC and just happening so fast, he wasn't even a pro for a year. He had his very first pro fight in November. And then that following summer, he got a call from Dana. And then he had one more legacy fight after that. And then his first fight was in October. So he wasn't even a pro for a full year yet before he got in the UFC. So that was crazy fast. But it wasn't surprising to me at all, no.
Have you ever seen him break a smile? That guy's always happy. It's almost contagious in some ways.
You know what? No. I mean, he really is always happy, and it's like contagious because it's impossible to be in a bad mood or upset at anything around him because there's always something good out of everything. When you think something's going wrong, he's just always Mr. Positive that can pull the good out of it. So he's a very positive person to be around, and everybody wants to be around him all the time because of that.
Fantastic. All right, let's talk about you. We got to at some point talk about you in this interview. The LFA debut that was actually supposed to take place a couple months back, if I'm not mistaken, and you had was it a hip injury? I heard.
Yeah, I was supposed to be on their March 24th card. Going directly from, I was training a little bit in jiu-jitsu while I was in college, but obviously not at the caliber that I was before I went into school. So I finished in December and jumped straight into a training camp. So that kind of took a toll on me just a little bit because I wasn't training consistently at that time. So my hip did get a little bit hurt, jumping back into the karate stuff that I had been used to, hadn't been used to. So yeah, my hip was hurt. I had to pull out. And then I told them in March that I would be, right after that fight actually, that I was ready. So they were like, we got one in Houston on June 23rd. I was like, that's my hometown. That's perfect.
Yeah. And I was going to say that is your hometown, and obviously this is for LFA, big organization. Not many people get to make their pro debut in a big organization like LFA. How are you feeling going into this? Any pressure at all?
Absolutely. I feel like there's always pressure in any fight you have. There's always going to be pressure. I feel like I love everybody in Legacy. I've had a great relationship with them, and they've just treated me and Sage wonderfully. I feel like it's helped. Maybe I've gotten that shot because I fought with them as an amateur so many times in that same Houston Arena Theater. I had their amateur belt at 135. So I figured I'm maybe assuming that would be it. I know there's tons of other talented people on the card that could be on the TV slot, but I'm very grateful that they put me on there for my pro debut. Like it's wonderful, really.
And I don't know if many people know this, but you've also moved. You're from Texas originally. Now you're living in California. What sort of prompted the move, and how's the adjustment been?
Oh, I love it. First of all, the weather here is so much better.
Is it really? I'm so ignorant because I'm up here in Toronto, Canada. So, as far as, weather, I just assume everywhere in the States, is pretty sunny all the time.
No, the weather here is gorgeous. It's always sunny, and it's dry. Like, I love to be outside now. That's my favorite thing, is to be outside. In Houston, the weather, it was always hot, but the humidity is so terrible that you can't even step.
I see what you're saying.
So, there's no humidity here, which I love, so that makes it that much better. But no, the adjustment's been great. I knew that as soon as I finished school in December that I was going to train and take this thing seriously. And so I just figured, I was kind of looking at the schools around in Houston and just figured here would be the best shot for me to really do this if I was going to do it. So yeah, so I love it.
And you're training with a Classic Fight Team. Of course, head coach there is Tyler Wombles, who's a black belt under Rafael Cordero. How have you gelled with the team? How has that been, being with new teammates?
Man, it's awesome. Everybody is so welcoming and so nice. They're all great training partners, and Tyler's wonderful himself. Like he's actually one of the best, actually probably the best person I worked with, to be honest. I worked with Raymond Daniels. Raymond Daniels is his #1 student, and he's got an intense karate background like myself. So Tyler's kind of adapted the way he teaches and stuff for karate people and knows how to work with somebody like me with a karate background, which is like I've never really experienced that with somebody else before. Or traditional Muay Thai guys, I always feel like they try to make you into a Muay Thai fighter or kind of try to shape you into somebody else. But he's taken my karate and is working around it and making me use it to the best of my ability, which is wonderful. So I love it. It's great.
And as far as training partners, I know Ashley Evans Smith is there. Who are some people that you've been working with that are helping you get ready for this fight?
Yeah, Ashley Evans Smith, I worked with her several times. I know that she just finished a fight not too long ago, and she's actually had an ankle injury. So she hasn't been super active in my training camp. She's just now starting to train again. Actually, she was,
She's got a fight in Edmonton coming up here in September.
yeah, she was actually just training this morning in class, but she had her ankle all wrapped up. So I don't know when she'll be able to get sparring again, but yeah, Ashley's wonderful. Joe Murphy, like I said, Ray McDaniels. There's a few other guys in there that are small. There's a guy, he's actually supposed to be fighting tomorrow named Kevin, who fights at 145. I don't know his last name, but they got a lot of smaller guys. But Ashley's a great one. It's awesome to have, another female that's my weight, that's actually in the UFC, that you can just train beside and kind of work towards as well. So it's awesome to have her as a partner.
Yeah, and it must give you confidence. You're training with someone who's already in the UFC. I mean, sometimes you don't get that type of training, at certain gyms.
Right, and it's actually, I feel like we're pretty much opposites, because she's got that intense wrestling background, collegiate wrestler, all that, and then I got the karate, so stand up. So actually, we've been able to help each other, which is awesome. We've only trained with each other a few times because she's been injured, but she's getting back into it now. So I'm excited to actually, help her if she needs it, or just be a sparring partner. I'd love to, get more work in with her. She's super cool.
And you're taking on Courtney King, who's also making her pro debut. Are you at the point in your career right now where you don't really worry too much about your opponent, sort of more focused on your skill set?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I still have a whole lot to learn. Obviously, I'm not the most experienced when it comes to MMA fights. I've only had a few, 5, 6. But yeah, I feel like from what I gather online, she's had about 9 amateur fights. I believe she's 6-3. She's a tall striker, just like myself. So it's actually a pretty good matchup, because I love to stand up, and she looks like she likes to stand up too. So I think it'll be very entertaining for everybody to watch.
And you, of course, have not fought since 2014 because of school and everything else. Do you just sort of, go in there and just know what you've worked on in the gym? Because I guess you can't really prepare for not, fighting for so long.
Yeah, my last, that's right, 2014 was my last MMA fight, and I had a pro kickboxing fight with Legacy in 2015, but that was in January. So, but yeah, I guess when you do martial arts for so long, it never really goes away. So it's just kind of there ingrained in you. So it'll just be, I feel like, instinct with me coming back. I don't think there'll really be any kind of rust, which I guess we'll see.
And this fight's coming up in a couple weeks. How's the cut going, getting down to bantamweight?
That's funny you say that, because on Tuesday I got a call from the promoter, the matchmaker, Colin Cantrell, and he said that she had initially backed out of the fight because of an injury or something that I wasn't exactly sure of. Come to find out, it's because of a weight issue. She's on some antibiotics, and so it made her bloat up and gain some weight. And so she asked if I would fight at 145, and I figured, well, 2 weeks notice, you know what? It's like, I might as well. So I said, yeah, it'll actually be at 145.
Okay. Instead
of 135 this time. So there is no cut for me. I'm actually underweight right now. So I'm walking around about 42 right now, 142. So just I can eat and whatever I want, that's still healthy. And yeah, it'll be super easy for me. No cut whatsoever. But 135 obviously is my ideal weight. So next one will be at 135.
Well, that must be great, because you don't even have to think about the weight cut. You can just focus 100% on the fight.
One less thing to worry about.
Yeah, exactly.
Or stress or have to, do.
June 23rd, how do you see this fight unfolding?
Man, it's crazy. I'm really not like, well, I don't want to say this. I'm very much like Sage and don't like to say anything in advance, but I think everybody will be very excited, and they should look out for an exciting finish for sure. I'll get to utilize my karate and my stand-up and show everybody how good I am, what I can do. So I'm excited.
Before I let you go here, there's an interview that you did in 2013 where you talked about how you want to be in the UFC. And I know you're making your pro debut and you're not a psychic, but how close do you think you are to, getting to that level? I know you're just starting out with the pro debut, but I'm sure you've sort of blueprinted, when we could see you in the octagon.
Of course I've thought about it, and everybody would like to have their own timetable of when they would like to get there, but I'm really just focusing on this fight and then taking it one step at a time. So this fight first and the next one. But I know that the women's divisions in the UFC, now that there's a 45 and they're bringing in a 25, the women's divisions as a whole are much, much smaller than the men's division in the UFC. So I don't feel like it would take too many fights for that to happen, but I'm not concentrating on that right now. Just focusing on this one and then taking one step at a time.
Very modest answer. I like that. That's good. We've talked all about your fight career and everything else. What about outside the cage? What do you like doing on your downtime? I know you're busy, you train all the time and everything, but what would I find you doing when you're not in the cage?
And well, now that I live in California, I love being outside, anything outdoors, whether it's hiking or I've only gone to the beach a couple times, which is crazy because I live 20 minutes away from the beach now. But anything outside, the weather's gorgeous. And then I work at World Champion Karate in the after school program with all the kids. I love teaching, everything like that. So I'm up at the karate school 5 days a week. And then anything outdoors, really. I mean, it's funny because people are like, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do? Like, be active. I mean, really have.
Well, if you got weather like that, it's pretty, like it's very appealing to go out and, do active stuff. I think that's awesome.
It's beautiful. I love it here. Yeah.
That's fantastic. How is it, teaching and training as well? Is it a good balance, like as far as, doing that?
It is. I love it. I think when you're a teacher and it makes you really have to know and understand the basics and the art of what you're teaching, whether it be any kind of martial art, whether it be school, whether it be whatever it is that you teach, it makes you really have to know it. And I think it makes you better as a person in that craft as well. So it only makes me better. And I love it as well. So it's awesome. I love being around karate and martial arts as a whole every day of the week practically, and around the kids. I love seeing the kids progress and how their lives are changing like right in front of your eyes. It's awesome. It's really great.
Everyone's got to check out this fight, LFA 14. It's live on Access TV on June 23rd. Colbey, I can't thank you enough for joining me here on the program. Where can people get a hold of you on social media? And if you got any thank yous or sponsors or shout outs, the floor is yours.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, my Instagram, Twitter is just Colbey Northcutt, Colbey Northcutt. And yeah, I got a lot of sponsors, but thank you to all of them. They know who they are. And then all my friends and family that are supporting me. I think everybody's going to see an exciting show on June 23rd.